Welcome to Hope's Homemade Kitchen. If you're new here, I'm Hope, and each week I bring you step-by-step recipes that you can make in your own kitchen. Today, we're going to make basil pesto. Now, I know many of you have an abundance of basil growing in your gardens. It's late July here in Minnesota, and the basil is growing like crazy. This recipe is a great way where you can use fresh basil all year long. Let's get started and I'll show you how to do it. For my basil pesto, I have about 6 cups of fresh basil leaves, freshly picked from the garden, extra virgin olive oil, garlic, pine nuts, lemon, kosher salt, and Parmesan cheese. So when you have the basil coming right from the garden, I just plunge it into some cold water and go through and just make sure there are no insects. Now, I grow mine in a raised bed, so they're usually pretty clean, but I do like to go through anyway just in case. Now, if you don't grow basil, the farmers markets are full of basil right now. So check out your local farmers markets, support local farmers. Just gonna take some paper towels and just blot these pretty dry as I can get them. Okay, first we're gonna lightly toast 1 cup of pine nuts. These nuts have a very high fat content, and when toasting them, they can burn quickly, so you wanna keep an eye on them. Toasting them just kind of enhances and brings out their flavor, releases the natural oils. I have my gas stove heat on about medium. When they start to brown, you'll actually be able to start hearing them toast. A little bit of a sizzle. The nuts are starting to get lightly browned, and that's really all we need. And I'm gonna pour them out on some paper towel and let them cool. That didn't take very long at all from start to finish, only 2 to 3 minutes. Okay, I'm gonna set these aside and we'll get going on our basil. Okay, I want about 6 cups of basil leaves, and I've gone through and washed and dried the fresh basil leaves, and I'm cutting them. I don't want the stem part, so I'm just pinching them right at the leaf, and I'm gonna go through, and this is about a 5.2 cup container, so I want it kind of heaped for 6 cups. Now, you don't have to use that much. You can half this recipe, and it'll certainly make plenty. Basil is one of those plants that when you plant 1 or 2, you're usually going to have an abundance of leaves. So it's always good to have recipes like this to use up your produce. And there are many methods of making pesto as well. You can just do it completely by hand. You can crush the leaves and the garlic and everything with even with like a mortar and pestle. That is a genuine handmade, homemade way of doing it. If you're all for convenience like I am, I like to use my food processor whenever I can, and you can do large amounts at once. I use my Cuisinart food processor quite often, and if you're interested, I have a link in the description box below. Okay, we'll be back when I have all of these leaves picked, and we'll continue with the recipe. Okay, now we have 6 cups of basil leaves that have been washed, dried, and I've got rid of the stems. Next, we're gonna shred our cheese. I need about a cup of Parmesan cheese. Gonna freshly grate it using a microplane. You can use the kind that's pre-grated. Fresh, I believe, is better in this case than, say, the kind that comes in the green box. You can also use a combination of Parmesan and Pecorino Romano. I'm just going straight Parmesan today. Just want to get a cup. I think that should do it. Okay, next we want to prepare our garlic. I'm just cutting off the ends. We want what amounts to about 4 to 5 large cloves. Now, if you have a mortar and pestle, it would be perfect, because we want to start to chop up our garlic. I'm going to use a teaspoon of kosher salt, and I'm going to work that into the garlic just with the edge of the knife. Okay, I'm going to add this garlic salt mixture to the food processor. I'm going to add the basil leaves. And I'm just going to pulse it. Okay, I'm going to add in the toasted pine nuts. beautiful that color is. Vibrant green. Okay, through the chute of the food processor, we're going to drizzle in 1 cup of olive oil, extra virgin olive oil. I'm going to scrape down the sides. I'm going to add in the Parmesan cheese. And I also want to drizzle in about a tablespoon of lemon juice. So we're just going to pulse this a few times. Add in our lemon juice. Okay, our pesto is all done. I'm going to reserve a small bowl to keep in the fridge. I'm going to put a little bit of a layer of olive oil right on top, just to preserve the color while it's in the refrigerator. Now the remainder I'm going to freeze in some little mini muffin tins. Now if you have some of those silicone either ice cube trays or muffin tins where it's easy for them to pop out, I recommend you use those. I'm just going to pop in a couple of tablespoons into each of these, and once they freeze into a solid form, I can put them in a freezer bag and then just pull them out whenever I need them. This is a great way to preserve your garden bounty, and you could eat it all year round. Okay, I'm going to put that in the freezer. So it made, these are about 2 tablespoons each. So I'm looking at about 36 tablespoons, plus I have about a half a cup that I'll keep in the refrigerator. So that made quite a bit. I'll freeze these, then I'll come back after they're frozen and show you how I pop them out and put them in the freezer. Okay, our pesto is frozen enough. Now I want to just show you. We sprayed the bottom of the little mini muffin tins. I'm just going to take them and put them into a freezer bag, put them back in the freezer. You can pull out your little pesto pucks anytime. Any kind of an airtight container would work as well. It's as simple as that. Now, I love using this pesto on grilled chicken, sandwiches, in soups, in sauces, and just stirring into pasta or pasta salad. All right, let's try it. Very fresh, very garlicky. There's nothing like the fresh taste of basil. It's going to enhance so many dishes. Very, very good. Thanks so much for joining me again this week on Hope's Homemade Kitchen as we made basil pesto. If you haven't already done so, please consider subscribing to my channel and sharing it with your friends. Hit the bell to be notified of more videos, and we'll see you next time.